Yeah. In my experience, yeah.
I went for close enough, but you're nothing. I do sometimes.
It's like it's running. Perfectly.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's something that okay. And it's hard that we don't live early. Why? No.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Enfield Select Board to order. And our first order of business tonight is a public hearing for the proposed property of sale. Pursuant to RSA 41:14-A. Again, the select board will hold 2 public hearings to discuss the potential sale of the following vacant parcels. Lot 14, map 14, lot 6, access off the rail trail known as one of the Johnston properties, 0.09 acres. And then map 34, lot 60, Shed Street, 1.24 acres, and map 34, lot 61, Shed Street, 1.969 acres. You'll notice the Methodist Hill property is not mentioned. It has been redeemed by the previous owners, and so it's no longer up for discussion. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So reminder for everyone during the public hearing, please state your names so that for our minutes and for the recording. We'll start just with the board. Does anybody have any initial comments before we go to the public? No? All right. Does anyone here or online wish to comment on any of the 3 parcels that we're discussing this evening? We do have some photos. I guess I'll just as a reminder, the Johnston Drive property was one of the 4 lots discussed by the committee last year with a recommendation to sell it. And there was a party that had an opportunity, a right of first purchase.
Right of first purchase.
Right of first purchase, they have declined that right, so now we will go out to open bid if, and see what happens. And the Shed Street properties are the old town DPW facilities that have been discussed for about 20 years now. Somewhere in that order. And I'm really just speaking at this point to make sure everybody has a chance to say anything if they like. Go ahead.
I think it's good information for the public too.
Yeah.
The RFP for the Johnston property is out. The select board
Yes.
discussed at the last meeting that they put it out, they'd accept bids, but that does not mean that they have to sell the property. So we'll be looking at bids, but we also want to give the public a chance to weigh in before they make any decision in the future.
So just the, that RFP online, because I,
Yes.
okay. I wasn't looking for it, so I didn't, it was posted there.
Yes, it is.
You have to say something.
I took this off, so I don't know.
Well, you took what off?
That's the best. Nothing to watch.
A couple of naive questions.
Just real quick, just first name first.
Yes, Dan in Lockhaven. When we sell properties as a town, what does the process look like? You mentioned an RFP. Do we also engage a real estate agent? And so it's listed with MSL, or is it, how do people become aware that properties are for sale?
It varies. Do you want to go through what we've done this time?
Yeah, this time we've posted it on our website, we advertised it in the paper, and most of the time we do it and we just take bids and do it that way. We don't usually go through a real estate agent to sell properties.
In the past, before I would say the law was clear, let's call it law was clear, because I guess the law didn't necessarily change. We used to keep all of the proceeds from sales. They used to hire an auction house sometimes if they had something substantial, which we don't in this case.
Oh, yeah.
And that was,
Yeah.
we're talking past, non-recent history.
I just sold a house recently and I looked at the possibility of selling it myself and I was talked out of that because what I was told is you want to cast your net as broad as possible, so that you're getting as many paying buyers as possible. And I wonder if we're doing that, just going through an RFP process and.
Well, it depends what we're doing.
Yeah.
This Johnston property, we possibly could have done that. It's a small little parcel to do that, but Shed Street, we're looking more for the development potential.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily how much money can we get from this, it's what are you going to build here? And we did directly send that to multiple developers that we know of. And so that one's more of, let's see what we can get built here. And Johnston property could have possibly went there, but also looking at it as a undeveloped 0.9,
It's 0.09, isn't it?
0.09 acre
So less
parcel.
than a tenth.
Well, potential new zoning rules come in to build on anything.
No, never, not with New Hampshire.
Not on
Because
this,
you won't, the setback, you'll never get past a yes. Well, I mean,
yeah, it's not 0.9.
Maybe you could buy it with
0.09.
governor.
It's a little.
it's less than a tenth, it's less than a tenth of an acre.
Thank you.
When did that public announcement go up? Or has it already?
Johnston property?
Yeah.
About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
You had any interest?
We usually get bids right about the time most of the time on an RFP.
Fire, when's the closing date?
I'd have to look it up, but it's a little later this month.
Oh, okay.
I think I gave about a month's worth of time for it to be out there. And then, like I said, there's nothing that says we have to sell it at that point. We can come back and talk about it if we want to list it with a real estate agent or do something different, we can.
Yeah, that was my next question is Fred Smith says he's interested, like, how does that work? Does he come with a price? Is it an auction? Like, how do you make the decision on who gets the property?
Johnston property is gonna be mostly based on price, and then it'll go to the select board to discuss in non-public and decide if they want to sell it for that price or not.
So,
Everyone else's offer would be.
if it's non-public, what does that mean? Is there we will be having records of what's offered, how that works? Is it just like a box? People come here and say things and then at the end comes out and says, it's been sold for this. Like, how do we know how that works?
Well, the select board will discuss it, and then they'll come out and they'll talk about if they're gonna sell it or not, and for how much and why, and
Typically, real estate and any legal type transactions are discussed in non-public. And then, there are times when it makes a lot of sense. You come out, you say pursuant to a discussion in non-public, we made XYZ decision, here's our logic, right? Or you might, because you haven't had signatures yet, you might seal the minutes for a time and date certain to let the legal portion of the transaction finalize. But at the end of the day, everything becomes public. Like, it's not gonna be something that's hidden.
Okay.
Right, it's just more, it's like if you were taking offers on your house, you wouldn't be like, hey, I got these 50 great offers, right? So it's the same kind of thing, and so, but in public sales, it all has to be public in the end. And we would obviously want to be telling people, like, if we did something unexpected, we would want to have a really good reason why. I'm not saying we're going to, but I mean, say we got a fantastic offer from somebody who wanted to build a miniature Disneyland, probably not a great choice, right? My miniature Disneyland, I'm giving an outlandish example of something we wouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's our only offer and we might decide to keep it. So I think it will all be very fair to say it will all be public and with good justification.
Do you guys have parameters for what is an acceptable price or not? Do you have? Or you just wait and see what happens?
not right now, we'll wait to see. I mean, Johnston property is so unique, we'll wait
Yeah.
to see what comes in, and that was the discussion at the last meeting is the offer something that we could consider reasonable? We don't know till we get them,
Of course.
and then the decision will be made whether it's, we want to sell it, we don't want to sell it, we want to look into more, whether it's a reasonable offer. I mean, we'll look at all those.
Have we had a real estate appraisal done on each of the 3 properties?
We have none at this point. you know, we have a assessment on the one, we can look at that, but, you know, we'll make that decision.
I don't think you're
As we
gonna
move
find a lot of
forward.
comparables on a less than a tenth of an acre on the lake. That would be a challenge.
With no vehicle access.
Yeah,
and-
I mean, people will interpolate, and we've definitely had folks do that over the years. I just see Bill in the back. He probably can tell you better than I can.
And no value in doing that in Shed Street?
That's gonna be based more on the development than the purchase price, I think, but we'll have to wait to see what we're getting, cause the real value for the town on that property is the taxes from future development. So, we can sell it for, let's just say $100,000 or something, and that's a flash in the bucket. It's what's gonna be built there, is that gonna be beneficial to the town? And you know, so a lot of these, if you look at other towns, when they're selling town-owned property for development, there's a lot of ins and outs of the negotiation, and it's not always based on price.
That's it.
I'm Bill Warren. I'm a little confused. It's only a 9/10 of an acre parcel.
No, it's not even, it's
That's
less
not even-
than a
it's
tenth.
less than 1/10.
Less than
0.09.
1/10.
That's
Yeah.
the Johnston property.
It's that little corner that she
That's the only piece that's gonna be
Right.
considered. I'd like to suggest something then. I've been in the real estate business for a really, really long time. If you ever decide to sell a piece of property, put it on the market. Once it's gone, it's gone. The likelihood of it ever coming back would be multiple generations.
Yep.
And, you know, if you decide to put it on the market now, it'll sell. Put it on the market in 10 years, it'll sell. But at least in 10 years, you've had the chance to sit and think about it. And since it's really not a usable piece of property for anybody other than going to the beach, I asked the question, from a tax standpoint, there's somewhere around 3,200 tax bills that go out. So whatever you get, divide that by 3,200, and that's the impact on the public. It's not much, in other words.
Yeah.
And it might make a whole lot more sense to just sit tight, take a look, 5 years, take a review. You say, no, we don't want it, put it on the market, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's the way properties sell. You put it on the market and it'll sell.
Part of the process here is a group of citizens spent 6 months talking to lots of folks in town, and they're around 4 different parcels. And this is part of their recommendation, was to sell this parcel. There's another one that still has a lifetime lease on it. They recommended that in the future, that parcel be sold and the town keep 2 parcels that are contiguous to one another. So part of this is sort of the end of at this point, it'll be a multi-year process thinking about these particular lots. But well considered.
Well, yeah, because it is so different than, for example, Shed Street. Say,
Yeah.
Shed Street, someone can do something.
It is very, very different. It'll be interesting to see what responses we get, for sure. I do see a hand up online, Rick Barrow. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, unmute yourself, Rick. Yes.
Hello.
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 Yeah, I did not give up my first right of refusal. I actually wrote a letter to Ed stating that we had our real estate agent go over and look at that property. My understanding was I had a first right of refusal at market value. He valued it at 50,000 and I put in an offer for 50,000 written and signed.
Who did you put that offer in with?
That's what that says.
I handed it to Julie Huntley, asked her to give it to Ed.
Okay, I stand
That's new information.
corrected. The last communication we had received
Well, the last,
was different. Okay, so,
We'll look into that, yeah.
and you have a right of first
Sorry, Rick.
purchase, which is
Right.
different than a right of first refusal. It's a better thing. than
Yeah.
right of First refusal.
okay,
Yes,
so
I
I
gave-
thank you
I
for.
gave the town, I gave the town of Enfield a permanent easement to access the rec trail from their parking lot for that first right of refusal.
Mhm. Yep,
I've
so,
been trying to buy that land for 27 years.
mhm. Yeah, so I stand corrected, the Barrows, on, it looks like May first,
I know
submitted.
that page,
Yeah, I
sorry.
did too. Submitted an official offer of $50,000, for their right of, purchase.
Me too. I grabbed it and assumed it was the letter I'd given him. I didn't look at it closely.
Okay.
That was my bad.
Thank you for correcting us, Mr. Barrow.
Okay.
That would end our discussion on this process.
Well,
Yeah.
we still have to have the two public hearings.
Yeah.
Pursuant to the RSA for any sale.
Mhm.
So we'll still have this hearing and we'll still have the one at our next meeting, because we still have to have the public hearings.
And with that, I'll look into
Yeah,
talking to some agents and getting
Yeah.
some sort of appraisal on that.
Barbara Jones, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, I just had a question about if Mr. Barrows understands that, there's no access to that land.
I believe he does. He owns a parcel that's walkable to there.
Okay.
The lot
Thank
line.
you.
Yes. Yeah,
You guys, I'm putting the map back up there. Thanks, Elisa. So we can
Yeah.
have a better picture of what these pieces are. Just Mr. Barrows and which is,
so on that lot, see the 6 with the little triangle there, the rail trail makes a red line and the yellow line coming. That's the lot we're speaking of. I don't know which one exactly.
You just
He
go
owns
straight
40.
across.
Okay, so he owns directly across 40.
It makes a lot of sense.
wait, he owns, which one? He owns,
The one on the other side. of the
Mark is
rail trail.
40.
and the other one in question is the little triangle. Okay.
Yeah, go take the line and just follow it straight.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see the 6 before I.
Yep, yeah.
Okay, great. And that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
We like things that make sense and are nicely packaged.
Yeah, I mean, it, whatever, it kind of rationalizes everything.
Question on the Shed Street property.
Yeah.
You have like parameters of what you want to see there? How broad, I guess how broad was the RFP?
The RFP was written intentionally as broad as possible to see what ideas people bring forward. And there've been many discussions over the years, but there've been no preferences stated.
And that's also on the websites?
Yeah.
How are you, what's the process for evaluating the offers? Is that, again, something that is private or non-public? Are we going to be able to see that? Are we gonna see what the various offers and the possibilities are? Are the boards, like the zoning board of adjustment or any of the other land use boards gonna weigh in on that?
Probably not. No, it'll be a select board decision.
You're not gonna discuss that with, as I say, the land use, the Heritage Commission?
It already went.
The other land use boards received the notification.
We discussed it at conservation.
No, I mean, the projects that come in, we've said,
No, there's no
fine.
legal requirement to do that.
No, that's not the current plan, is to discuss it.
Oh,
Whatever, well,
They have to.
they would have to,
Yeah.
they would have to go through the typical planning process. So they would have to presumably, if they had a big project, they'd have to do a site plan review. If they wanted something that was a variance from our zoning, they would have to go to the ZBA to get a variance. The select board can't grant that variance. And so they would have to go through that process depending on what their proposed project was. But if somebody just said, I just want to build a single family home, they would just go build it. So it really would depend on what the project that's selected.
I was gonna say, that's part of the reason that it shouldn't go to those
Right.
land use boards, because if the developer comes in and there's this talk and then they have to get a variance, then you've already entered into that discussion and you really shouldn't have, so.
There's danger in double jeopardy.
But if it's dependent, I mean, even not, if it's dependent on, say, the project, somebody wants to build, a 3-story whatever, 5-story concrete block thing or something, that seems like it might, since you have said before that it's gonna be on the merits of the project, not necessarily the price, would it be useful to talk to, as I say, the Heritage Commission, who may have something to say about those, about competing designs, that, you know, we think that, you know, the two here, this one is more coherent with the rest of the town, or any of the other things.
I mean, that gets
Like
into
that.
NIMBYism, and I don't think it's appropriate. NIMBYism, well,
I think that gets into the planning
Yeah.
process,
that's
Yeah.
not
which
appropriate.
any project will have to go through the planning process. And the sale, we can't exempt somebody from the planning process in the sale. So they'll have to go through the town's typical process as part of any project that they do. And so adding a secondary planning process in advance of any sale kind of gets out of sequence of what is typical for any project.
I think at some level, you also have to have some confidence that the select board, who are elected by the public, are going to try very hard to make a good, reasonable decision that's going to be the best thing for the town. And do it in an expeditious fashion.
I think on the flip side, if somebody was coming in with a proposal and wanted to do a conceptual in front of the planning board, they are permitted to do that. But that's their choice. It's not a requirement.
Say most developers will probably make an offer
Contingent
contingent.
on, yeah,
Right.
so it is a possibility, but not an expectation. My 2 cents is that selling Shed Street is long overdue. And we need to get this back on the tax rolls.
Okay. Seeing no other hands up, I take a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're out of the public hearing. I'll give the board a chance to just comment if they'd like, but I will also remind us that we have another public hearing in 2 weeks on the same topic. All right, need to find my agenda. All right, moving on to the next item, approval of minutes, April 15th, regular and non-public minutes.
I thought they were well done as usual. And I move that we approve them as presented.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion of either? No corrections? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, and again, I just like to clarify, the non-public minutes will become public at this point.
Yep.
Unless somebody says otherwise. And makes a motion. Okay, going on to board reports. Yeah, John, do you want to start us off this?
Since the budget committee has not met, I have nothing to say.
Okay. Tracy?
I have nothing from Energy Committee or MPAC at this time.
I was late to conservation because of my daughter's game and Ed was there. They did not have a quorum to start because we had a member online. So learned a little about that. Ed did some stuff that was non-voting items with them, including some education surrounding right to know law and just getting them up to speed on that. It's something I think we haven't always given the opportunity to our committees to learn about. And they don't always take the opportunity to go to these educational seminars you can go to. So that was really good. A lot of, I don't know how to say it. I think we maybe have cleared the air about not doing personal projects during conservation. And kind of talked about that they need to be in the broader sense, right? And so looked at that, and they are going to be at the market, the first Enfield market of the season, which is this Saturday, May 11th from 10 to 1. So you can stop by and see them, sign up to work on trails, learn about some of their efforts. And they are also going to be at Old Home Days. And I believe they're trying to schedule 2 appearances. And I'm not going to say what they are, just in case. I think we're agreeing with Old Home Days committee on that. But Shirley, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. I think they're hoping to have a talk and a trail walk again, which will be nice to see. What did I forget if one of you two?
No, the only thing that really, kind of with that forum discussion that I wanted to, I'll remind the select board, but it's good for other committees to know that, you know, they have 7 people on the board. They had 3 people in attendance. No, they have 6 people on the board, 3 people in attendance. That does not equal a quorum because a vote of 3 to 3 is a failing motion. So you have to have that 4th one. There was a little discussion about that, but just a reminder that you have to have the majority of people there to be a quorum.
And conservation is looking for another member. So if you know someone who's conservation minded, who wants to hang out with us on the first Thursday of each month, have them fill out the form and give it to Elisa, or you can tell me their information. I'll send it to them and CC Elisa.
Good. Alice?
Sure. So the Heritage Commission met this month and they discussed input for these properties we were just talking about. They discussed a presentation to the planning board. And they discussed the Scenic Byways project. An ongoing discussion regarding community education about the historic district downtown, inviting people to learn about opportunities to restore historic properties and historic barns. Financial opportunities people may not know about, so that'll be cool if we can start community education about that. In addition, the Enfield Village Association met. They are deep in ongoing planning for the Shaker 7. They'll be recruiting registrants at this weekend's Enfield Market. They will also be recruiting board members. We need volunteers. And we do a lot of things in the town and just need more people to do them. We also have Green Up Days coming up in the beginning of May. I think it's 11 and 12, and then the following weekend after that, I don't know off the top of my head, sorry, it's also been on the listserv. Yeah, and we do need volunteers for the Enfield Village Association.
All right. And the planning board had a good meeting. We had 2 hearings, 1 lot line merger and 1 subdivision. And they're both pretty straightforward. I will remind everybody that there are 2 community forums for the zoning update and the master plan work. Thursday, May 9th from 6 to 8, and Saturday, May 11th from 10 to 2, both at the community building.
Is it 10 to 2 or 10 to 12?
This says 10 to 2.
10 to 12.
Behind you, it says 10 to 2.
Okay, we may want to check this, this paperwork says 10 to 2. It's okay. Yeah, and we sent it to everybody at till 2.
That mailer that came,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
glossy.
I think you're gonna have to keep it open till 2.
Right, it says till 2.
I was gonna say, I mean, my
Yeah,
eyes are a
so it'll
little
be 10 to
funky.
2. Somebody will be there. All right, any questions for anyone from around the board inputs?
Yeah, there you go.
I fixed it.
Thank you.
Win, go team.
All right, town managers reports.
Yes. So I'm happy to report on our staff report that we are getting really close to filling the police department. We have had a certified officer come in with our recruitment bonus. And they're looking at moving over. We're finalizing the end of our background checks, but we're pretty hopeful because they currently work as a police officer that everything will go fine. We're pretty sure that they will. And we also have an applicant for the part-time police assistant position. In an effort to save money, I have worked with the police chief and we're gonna hire the police assistant later in the summer, or we may bring them on in July to work a very limited number of hours to help the police with a certain project. But overall, it looks like we're gonna have a full police department within the next couple months. And so that will bring us to full staffing townwide. So happy to report that.
What do we consider to be full staffing?
At the police department.
Yeah.
7 police officers
One assistant.
are, our administrative assistant and a part-time police assistant. The police assistant is not certified, so they're not out patrolling, doing those types of things. They do the school crossing guard and they do other projects within the
But
police.
they would have a walkie-talkie. Am I correct, do you think?
I'm not sure if they do. They may have something to communicate at the school, but they don't run around and look for anything. They pretty much do school crossing guard and then they take care of cars and do projects in the police department themselves.
The officers have been doing a really nice job filling in.
Yes.
Great job. It would be good if we had sufficient staff to man the fair this year, because there have been issues in the past.
Yep, we usually have someone there and, you know, when we're full staff, we have a couple officers on and try to keep one at the fair. Whitney Hall project is going well. The slab portion's been complete. You may see if you pass by that the carpenters are on site. For Tracy, we are using a subcontracted carpenter. It's not Red Loaf employees, so
No, I know, yeah.
they're in there. They're doing good work. If you go by, you can see that most of the exterior walls for the addition are framed up now for the first floor. They'll be getting ready to move up in the next week or so to the second floor. So happy to see that happening and construction starting to begin. Shy Insulation is on site finishing up insulation in the renovation portion. So they've been working the last couple weeks. You've probably seen them out there. Things are progressing well on that front, the Whitney Hall project overall. It's nice to get past demolition and opening things up, because that's when you find stuff you don't want to find. So it's good to do that, and we're continuing to move forward. The impact committee's worked the last few weeks on color choices. It's been a pretty hard discussion. As you can imagine, at the last one, we did have the library trustees there as well, helping us look at outside colors. I have a color board over here and a big rendering. I guess I can hold it up. It is gray. I know some people were against that, but we decided we mainly picked a light gray color right here for the bottom portion of Whitney Hall and the expansion. And one of the primary reasons we went with that was it opens a big color palette to go with it. So in the future, as other, I'll call it generations, want to add color, do things, since we're doing an exterior hardy board siding that'll last many, many years, it gives a lot of options of colors that can go with that. So we looked at that. We are looking the kind of the maroon on the bottom, the blue and the grayish blue are ideas right now, but we're looking at some colored accents to kind of go to the building to add a little bit of color. So it's not just gray and white, but we'll be continuing to work on that and move that forward. We're excited that project's moving along well. So, wanted to send out a reminder that starting tomorrow, blue bags for pickup for roadside litter for Green Up Day, which will be happening over the next couple weeks. Here. You can pick them up at Greeley Hall at 3 Shaker Road, the Union Church at Enfield Center, and the south end of the parking lot near the temporary side of the library town offices at La Salette. There's a few other places. So get those, get out, pick up some trash, put them in the blue bags, and you can deliver them, or we'll get them picked up and
And
we
it's
could
2
town.
weekends.
You can help. Yeah, it's over the next 2 weeks. And if you want to contact the town hall, actually the post that went out said Julie Ecker, but if you get a hold of town hall, we can help you get in contact with people to get those blue bags picked up. So we're excited to get the town cleaned up for the spring. Thank you to Eva for helping. The Memorial Day Parade, we are gonna have one. If you look at your newsletter, you'll see that the police department is working. Actually, Emily in the police department is working hard, planning and putting together the Memorial Day Parade. If you wanna be part of the parade, you can contact her at the Police Department, 603-632-7501. The parade will form up at 10 a.m. on Main Street and it'll start at 10:30. Look forward to having that parade and seeing people around on the parade route. You may have noticed that the Mascoma Lakeside Park project has started. We're working diligently on the parking lot right now. You've probably seen that they dug it all up. We're getting ready to put in some stormwater infrastructure. We did find some water in the back part of the parking lot, so they're gonna be putting some drainage pipes in there just to keep water flowing and get it away from the asphalt before we put it in. We did move forward with the project that was approved by the select board and Mascoma Lakeside Park Committee last year with kind of an arc-shaped parking lot and a turnaround in there. We'll have some handicap parking spaces and it'll make the park ADA accessible. So we're excited to move that forward and we'll be continuing to manage that as everything. The budget's a little tight or a little over budget now, but we're working with the contractors to put that back in line and our grant. With our grant, we can do in-kind donations, which allows us to do a little bit of work and to donate some equipment and those types of things, which will help bring the cost down. So we're managing that tightly at this moment. Do want to let you know that the watershed grant that we're working on with Lebanon is moving forward. They had a city council meeting last month and the city council slotted a public hearing for May 15th. We keep saying grant, but what this actually is an SRF loan of $100,000 to write the plan with 100% forgiveness behind it. So state revolving fund. So the state will give you a loan or give the city of Lebanon a loan for $100,000. And then once the project's complete, they write the loan off. So you don't have to make any payment. So with that, they'll be going through a public hearing for a loan on May 15th at their normal city council meeting. Then we'll know a little more, but talk to the employees in Lebanon that are working that and they don't see any issues with that moving forward.
Is that something that any of us should attend?
I asked them that you can, if you would like to, but
Okay.
like I said, they said that they don't expect anything. They said that I didn't need to attend. I told them the same thing. If I thought they thought I needed to be there, I would be there.
It would be in their best interest to take care of the water that is, going into their faucets.
It is. However, a lot of grants and loans, having the support behind them can be valuable. Can you just send out the timing of that
Okay.
so that people can make a choice on that?
Yeah.
I have a little more.
Okay.
So wanted to give a little kudos. I don't know if people saw the small write-up. I didn't send it out, but EBS was recognized again for being ranked the 13th out of 211 elementary schools in the state of New Hampshire. So just want to congratulate them for their hard work and being ranked 13th out of 211. That's a pretty good ranking to have. So
Top 6%.
So good to, all of them, superintendent, Principal Jamie Winnie, and all the teachers for their hard work. Skip that one. I had some stuff on planning, really just those two events this week. So again, Thursday night, May 9th from 6 to 8, and Saturday, May 11th from 10 to 2. And then a little bit of a DPW update. They will be meeting this week with FEMA to prepare for the inventory for the December 2023 storm and mud repair that we had. I didn't have it on my notes, but I again want to give kudos to Chief Holland and DPW for being so on top of these storms. They're getting us a lot of money back in pretty short order. And So it's really nice for them to be on top of these, doing all that work to make sure that we get recouped for the damages that we have to repair. You may have seen the highway crew around. They put out 3 pallets full of track sealing material in the last couple weeks. They rented a track sealing machine instead of hiring a contractor this year to see what the difference would be. And we're getting a lot more bang for our buck for them being out there, sealing the cracks in the road and making sure that things, the maintenance is done to help them last a little bit longer. So, yeah, they've completed multiple roads around town. Maple Street paving is happening this week. We're finalizing that. If you remember last year, they did the base coat and they're doing the finish wear coat this year. So that should be done, completed this week. I saw that it was pretty much paved. They'll be doing the final markings and little updates that they need to do to that road. The 2024 paving RFP is out and will be opened Wednesday, May 8th. So we'll have a lot better idea soon on how many roads we'll be able to pave with the budget that we have. The grounds crew installed the last of the cemetery signs from that project, and they're almost done placing mulch in beds around town. Playground mulch has been ordered, but it hasn't been delivered yet. So that'll be coming with the town starting to look nice with all the work that they've done this spring. Water sewer staff has started the odor control units in the Shaker Bridge and Lower Shaker Village pump stations using caustic soda. So they work with Lebanon to dose those at all times to keep the smell down going down that pipe. And then DPW attended a pre-construction meeting with New Hampshire DOT. They are going to be doing paving projects along Shaker Hill Road and Main Street this year. So Shaker Hill Road for the entirety will get a shim and overlay. So they'll just pretty much be putting pavement over pavement. They are going to be doing some ditching.
Through any grunt, I mean, it's so badly neglected, it's great. So my concern is, you've got we all who travel it, I think the amount they're gonna have to use to fill it in some places, they're gonna need to grind some of that off.
They're gonna grind Main Street, but it doesn't look like they're gonna be grinding Shaker Hill.
I think I'm not gonna be nice, because I feel like they've severely neglected Shaker Hill and it's intentional. And I think that they neglect it knowing that we pay for it on the flip side in the winter and they don't care. And I just strongly object to the way they treat Shaker Hill and the fact that the ditching is ridiculous. We have water flowing over the road. You've got a bad bend. It's dangerous. And that's one of our major commuter feeder roads. Our buses go down it. It's not okay how they treat
So
it.
that's why our guys attended the pre-construction meeting to talk about ditching and where things needed to be done.
If they'd like to do it in the winter, maybe they can have.
Just what you was talking about, it's filling in those wavy spots and then.
Just my experience with the state and shimming is they do a pretty job. And I know that's not nice, but just I've seen them, it peels up before they put the next coat and then you have a bunch of waves and then we hit it with the plow and it's gone and it's a waste of money. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still paying the money the state is using to do this. It's not like they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They're taxing us and then withholding the money they should be using to fix that road. That's, my opinion on it, but it's a very strongly held one because maybe they'd like to do the winter maintenance and beat up their plow. They can plow Shaker.
We can talk about that.
Tell them the big meanie said it.
Kind of in our court, because we're supposed to be upgrading part of that.
I'll second you, Katie.
It's just ridiculous, honestly.
Does their project include any stonage of the drainage ditches when they're done?
I don't believe so. But I don't know.
So that's left to the town if we want to do that.
No, because we don't do summer.
I was gonna say, we'd probably have to get permission to do that.
Because it's theirs in the summer
Yeah.
and it's ours to own the problems in the winter, which is just, I see, no, it doesn't work because they leave us the problems.
When will that probably happen? Do you have any idea?
It's gonna happen this summer. I don't know when this summer, but we just heard last week that it was gonna be done. Nope, that's it. Our contractor is gonna join us about 7. so-
Okay. Yeah, are there any other questions for Ed?
No.
On the town manager report? Okay, so we're moving on to the business of the meeting. The first one is the public safety building contract. Representative from Negley and Chase is available at 7, so unless there are objections, I'd like to do the rest until we get there.
Yeah.
And before we get started, there is one item, John, the 4th item down, that I need to recuse myself from. I'm hoping you'll be able to handle the discussion on that. But before we get there, Beck's bench from the Enfield Mascoma Lions for Veterans Park.
You just need a motion to accept it? Is there a place for it?
Any,
I would make a motion that we accept the Trent bench from the Enfield Mascoma Alliance for the Veterans Park with Saints.
I second that.
okay, so is there any discussion of that? So there is a place picked out for it already?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jim will work with them to
Yeah.
to place it somewhere.
yeah, no, seems good.
Oh, Jim will be involved in the placement. Okay.
Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, we'll accept that. Let's see, sewer connection application from Palmer.
That's great.
This is for 21 Nancy's Way.
I make a motion, we grant, application or accept that, what do you want, grant? Approve the application for the sewer connection?
Approve the application.
For the Palmers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, is there any discussion?
I think it's great that the folks near the water are connected.
Yes. That should be good for the lake.
Yep.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then we get to the property tax abatement, which I have to recuse myself from.
Okay.
You gonna sit on the other side of the table?
Move to the other side of the table.
There you go.
So good.
Exactly.
And this is a, application for abatement of taxes from Eric Russell and Hannah Massacre.
Yes.
It seems to me from map 38 lot 2044 Maple Street. And it seems to me a no-brainer. The item listed, and these are in the notes here, as a tiny home with the assessed value of $43,300 is actually a trailer. It was legally registered as such, is owned by a family member, and was moved off our property in late spring. Are there any questions?
You on April 1st?
What?
It was,
April 1st or
it
15th?
was a registered trailer the whole time, and then I just parked.
Yeah.
It was like something of a motor.
Yeah.
Just as a general point of information for myself, our zoning doesn't allow tiny houses yet, does it, or
Well,
does it?
no, so
I'm saying that's a trailer, but just in general across town, can you even have a tiny house yet?
if it meets building codes.
If it meets building codes,
Right, yeah.
Is it
A lot of-
possible to
most
have
of
your
the
tiny house?
homes Don't
meet building codes.
Could be
Okay.
800 square feet, which makes it an ADU.
Which would still have to meet building codes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's okay, and that was just my general, for my knowledge, thank you.
Right.
So, how about, any questions from the public?
I would make a
A
motion,
motion, please?
I would make a motion to grant the property tax abatement application from Eric Russell and Hannah Massacre.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
We pick it up, oh, he's got asphalt.
All right.
Okay.
I just wanna know if I can have a tiny house.
Moving on, exemption recertifications for Brown and Jordan.
So we have two elderly exemptions here that
Mhm.
Right.
actually barely don't qualify for recertification. And we wanted to bring this to the board for discussion and possible determination because we decided last year not to change
Mhm.
the amount.
Right,
And they've gotten this for years and
yeah.
Mhm.
with the little bit of social security increase and things that they got, they are really close to qualifying, but they don't qualify this year. And just wanted to see what the purview of the board was on that. Not usually a fan of making exceptions, but I also have a heart and
Are we allowed to make exceptions as a board?
I believe you can go ahead and grant those.
Yeah.
We can.
Instead of making the exception, could human services offset some of the money, or is it better making it? I just am. I'm kind of in favor of running a lot of things through human services too, but it's so hard because you give one and then you give another one and.
My feeling is that they come so close
I know.
that, I don't see that anything will be served by denying this.
And they're both, one is over 80, the other is over 94. They certainly would qualify as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
I move that we accept them both for exemption.
My gut instinct was to say, no, we don't make exemptions. And the more we talked about it and said, we decided to come back next year with the change because of things that were going on. I personally started to feel that we might have caused a hardship on it.
I'll second that.
Okay, so you seconded the motion?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you're seconding the motion.
Yeah, sorry.
It's coming. Okay, yeah, is there any other discussion or? I think we really do need to bring forth those.
And
amounts.
as we decided, I think post, appraisal.
Yeah.
We can look at
Yeah, I think we really need
the
to.
plan, if
Yeah.
you will.
Right. We can already start bringing it, I mean, we know a lot of what inflation has done and like, we know where social security is tracked. And there's a lot of data that we can start gathering there.
I think we made a good decision not to make the decision without data, so I'm fine with it. But yeah, in the future, we're gonna have to go by that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the two applications for exemption are granted. Veteran tax credit, Sheehan. This one, do you wanna?
Andrew's here whenever you want to move to the
Oh.
next table.
Or,
Probably.
Since we have this in front of us
Yeah.
right now, let's
Why don't
just,
we just do this
this
one?
one seems very straightforward to
Yep.
me. I mean,
I'll make the motion that we approve the veterans tax credit for Sheehan.
What?
well, but
No,
he does not meet the minimum requirement for active service.
Yeah, this one's tricky because he
okay,
does not meet the
should I-
RSA
sorry.
requirement. Oh, yeah, no, so let's take a step back and we'll discuss it. Do you want to set it up? Actually, I know you've looked through, or do you want me to?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so it's an application, for a veteran tax credit from a career Army National Guard, person. However, the state RSA requires National Guard members to have done, a minimum of 90 days active duty. And the records provided do not include the 90 days active duty.
Right. Don't
Now that-
include any active duty, I don't. think.
And this, I guess the question for me is this one where we have any discretion or the RSA is actually very clear?
No, I think.
actually, it isn't clear. Because the RSA says active duty, it does not make any specific remark about reserve or guard duty. Where for 2 weeks a year minimum, the individual goes on active duty per orders, and 22 years times 2 weeks plus training time. So in fact, the RSA is unclear.
Can we go back to him and ask? I just have a hard time believing nothing was.
I find it hard to believe that somebody would spend the last 22 years in the National Guard and not be deployed.
Well, it's not just deployed, it's active duty, and as I say, 2 weeks a year minimum is active duty.
And that
That's what
doesn't
the orders
mean
say, I
combat.
know that.
It doesn't mean combat, it means active.
Correct. Your orders say active, so
Yeah.
I think there's a misinterpretation of what the rule is, and I think this person may indeed qualify.
Yeah, can we go back to them and
I'll review that.
sort that out?
Yeah.
Because The only reason we're even discussing it is because of what the RSA says, not because of their.
Right.
Cause it says prior active federal service, but
I do think there's a differentiation between the
Yeah.
2-week active
There
duty
is.
and actually active duty.
No, there isn't. I have done my reserve time, so I can tell you that there is not.
Time too, and
Yeah.
there is I think there's a definite determination, but we can do that research.
Yeah.
okay. I feel better because
All right,
I,
we will table that for this evening.
Good point.
Okay, so, our representative from Neely and Chase is here, so we will go back to public safety building contract. You're going to set that up then?
Yeah, so as I put in your packet, Neely and Chase and Black River Designs and the whole crew has done, I'm gonna say, a tremendous job working with the public safety building and putting forward a guaranteed maximum price that's actually $15,000 under the construction budget that we gave them of 6.5 million. You may see a difference between the $7.2 million bond and the $6.5 million construction budget. There are some fees and things that we're gonna have to pay on our side of this, so. But it's moving forward. We're happy to go ahead and move that forward. There are a few, I'm gonna see if I can find where they're at in the page. But there were a few add alternates that were changed, some different roofing materials, a little bit of roofing insulation that, I've actually already talked to Andrew about possibly adding back in. The $485,000 figure that was put forth to you as a budget does include $100,000 for the generator, which we do have a grant coming from Homeland Security for. So there's a little bit of wiggle room to add some of those things back in and still stay under the $6.5 million budget. So, I can let Andrew talk a little bit if you'd like to, but what I'm looking for tonight is the motion that's in your packet authorizing me to enter into an agreement up to the budgeted amount of 6.5 million, which will allow a little bit of that negotiation back and forth instead of putting forward an exact figure.
Okay.
Andrew, did you like to say anything?
No, I think I'd just like to echo what Ed said. It's been a process, and all of you are quite aware about where the market conditions are and the escalation that's happened over the last couple of years. So it's a great result. And Tracy's been with us in the MFAC and knows what we've been through to get to where we are. But we've got a facility that I think both chiefs are thrilled with. We're using heat pumps, and it's actually designed to the Vermont Energy Code. If we add back in the roof insulation, so it will be a tight, efficient building. And I think it covers all of the bases that we were aiming to do.
And just to highlight that, the Vermont Energy Code is stricter than the New Hampshire Energy. So,
I want that roof insulation back in.
Yeah. Good luck.
That, the roof insulation is in as an adder. I want it back in R40.
Other comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Consent? Tracy, you've sat through all these meetings?
Again, I agree with Kate. I think we need to put the alternate of additional roof insulation back in the picture at 29,400. Find a way to fund it. I'd want to be clear, and I assume from Phil Neely that we're okay on the apparatus bay not being a polished concrete floor. I just want to make sure we're not headed into something that he's uncomfortable with.
yeah, it was actually his idea to pull.
That he felt we were okay. Fine. I trust that judgment. And the rest, I think, of the ad alternates are, not as crucial, to be perfectly honest.
And we're actually looking at a little bit of that. I'm glad you brought that up. In talking about that last week, Chief Holland actually asked that the Sally ports and the processing room not be polished concrete.
Polish is really slippery. The fear of wet shoes.
Yeah, I'm less worried about the Sally port because those, the pull in, pull out is infrequent.
But they
The
are,
trucks, on the other hand, are gonna drip.
Yeah, they are polished in here and we're gonna take that out. So that'll be a little bit of cost savings as well.
Down the line, if it isn't successful, if they find there's an issue,
Seal it.
we can seal it. It will actually be sealed.
It'll be sealed.
It's sealed with
No,
concrete seal.
Just seal with it.
But if necessary, we can always come back to an epoxy floor or some other finish if necessary.
Yeah, I
in the
don't think
future.
you're gonna want it for the same reasons that there's a lot of water in the fire department.
Yeah,
and You don't
exactly.
want a slippery floor.
Yeah.
Tracy, if I could, just, the slab in the apparatus bay is 5,000 PSI. With a hardener and then a sealer on it. So I think we've got it adequately covered, to say the least. The polishing is just an extra cost, and if they chain up when they're in the apparatus bay, and I think on occasion Phil said that they do that, it's just gonna beat up the floor that much more.
I agree. I didn't know he would say he did that. So yes, by all means, you're right. And it would ruin the floor if it was polished.
Be an undertaking. Not want to chain one of those up.
All right, there's no other discussion. Would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to enter a contract with Neagley and Chase for an amount not to exceed $6.5 million for the construction of the new public safety building, and hereby authorize the town manager or their designees to take such actions and execute all documents that may be necessary.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I would just like to reemphasize a priority on the ad alternate for the additional insulation as we
Yeah.
move forward. Of all those alternates listed, that certainly rises to the top.
Yeah, I think that's unnecessary, given.
Yeah, there needs to be a way to find that.
Yeah, no, it's there. Like I said, we have 100,000 in this budget that we're guaranteed to get a grant for. So
Great.
we got it. We'll still be in the ballpark. So
When's
thank you, Andrew.
groundbreaking?
We'll,
Yeah, what's the deal with Andrew? When would you plan that the site contractor could be on board?
Quickly, Tracy. They're
Well,
They're
we
itching to-
go dark in an hour and a half, so.
yeah. I think we got a couple weeks to gear up. We've got to get the panels ordered. We don't want to outrun the foundation, but I think in a couple weeks we'll be down there laying out in earnest and get moving.
and we should schedule a groundbreaking ceremony.
We will do that. Look forward to it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to charitable exemptions. Something we do every year. And we have a list provided by, there's a one front page. We have a list provided by Julie with recommendations. I'm just gonna read through real quick and then we can go through the various sections. One, she recommends granting a full exemption for the Enfield Community Church, Enfield Historical Society, Enfield United Methodist Church, St. Helena's Catholic Church, Union Church of Enfield Center. She recommends partial exemptions for Dartmouth College. This would be the lake, the sailing club on the lake, Living Waters Bible Church, and the Upper Valley Humane Society. And she suggests pilots, which are payments in lieu of taxes, for Chosen Vale, Enfield Village Association, Upper Valley Snow Foundation, Visions of Creative Housing, and she recommends a denial for the New England Forestry Foundation. So I suspect there's a mix of not needing discussion and wanting discussion.
Most of these are exactly what we did last year.
Correct.
With the exception of Chosen Vale, Enfield Village Association, Upper Valley Snow Foundation, and Vision for Creative Housing. And I have deep concerns about this. I'm gonna put this right forward. And I will say, be right up front here, I'm a butter to Visions for Creative Housing. and my sister was the executive director. I was the first a member of the board of the Enfield Select Board to work with the Enfield Village Association. And I'm on the Board of Trustees of Chosen Vale and have worked for Chosen Vale in the past as a docent and tour guide. I think these are institutions that are important to Enfield, that enhance the quality of life in Enfield. In fact, I think that they are so important that people come to see what is being done. In fact, Vision for Creative Housing is being held forward as a model. And in fact, now they've gone and they've created one in Lebanon. They're finishing one in Hanover that's already all booked up. And the state is thinking, these are the things that should be done. And if we as a town stomp on this, I fear how we're going to look. And I fear what the consequences will be for our community. Thank you.
I think the discussion last year was that if there was some concerns about DRA and we needed more information, I have never seen any information come back. So I'm not inclined to change my mind from last year.
Can you, Ed, do you want to tee up a little bit of the discussion around the RSAs and what DRA has said? And why this is even being brought forward?
Yeah, last year we sent you guys, part of the Ossipee decision where the town of Ossipee was sued by their taxpayers for not following the law in these areas. We had some discussion about working with these groups in looking at a payment or a pilot instead of a full tax exemption. So that's really what I worked on. I did hand out tonight 2 pages and we highlighted the sections. If you look at the persons and property liability to taxation, property taxes, section 7223, you can see on the back, the part that's highlighted, this is where it talks about charitable organizations. This is where Chosen Vale and EVA would fall into. As you see in the highlighted sections, it exempts property that's owned, used, and occupied directly for the purposes that are established.
Which in the case of Visions is every square foot of the property.
Visions is a different RSA, and I'll talk about that.
Oh, okay.
This is EVA and Chosen Vale. And what we put forward was a pilot for the town portion of the taxes only on the portion that's leased to, in Chosen Vale's case, a commercial entity, and in EVA's case, a residential living place. So you have to be a charitable organization. You have to own, use, and occupy that space. And then there's a third part in there that, you know, if you're using the profits from that for something else, but it's all 3 of those. So I'm going to use EVA as an example. They're not using that profit for something other than EVA, which is fine. That's great. That's what they want to do. But the law says they still have to own and occupy that space.
So the area that's the retail space at the museum is on a small pilot?
No, what we're looking at on the Chosen Vale one is the Drummond cycle shop that they leased to Drummond. That's the only thing that we're looking at.
And we're looking at making that part a pilot?
We're looking at entering a pilot agreement with Chosen Vale for the town portion only of the taxes that would accrue to the cycle shop. Not the school taxes, not the county taxes, just the town portion.
So it would be as if that was a commercial property instead of the nonprofit property.
But we're exempting
Right,
it from
and being generous by only charging the town. Portion.
So we're allowed to not, like, this, you can just opt out of charging them the school portion?
Yeah, you can create a pilot to do that. This is what a lot of towns do. And, you know, we understand as well that they're great organizations that do a lot for the town. So we're trying to stay within the bounds of the law and put something forward that's gonna pass the straight face test when DRA, who said they're gonna start spot checking these a lot more. The Ossipee decision, the court really came down on the fact that DRA wasn't watching these the way that they should have. So they're gonna be looking at them and auditing people a lot more often. And that was part of our decision to say, let's make sure we're following the law on all of these.
Okay, so what if DRA gives us the slap and it's like, naughty, naughty, you didn't do it? We have to go back and do it? That's the penalty?
I don't know what the penalty will be.
I mean, I just am, and I see in this email, it says, could you send a copy of a pilot you already used for them? So do we have that copy?
For Visions or?
I
which
mean,
one's that on?
you wrote to Norm and it was,
Yeah, I asked for a pilot from him
okay,
to use. I ended up writing my own that was a little bit different. And that's what we have, and we can pass these to you. We don't have to agree to the pilots tonight. If you look at the charitable exemption one, it's about the same, but if you look at section 2, it says the owner of the housing shall enter into an agreement. The state's saying that they must enter an agreement of some sort.
And if we look a little bit further down in that document, for cause shown and at any time, keeping in mind the nature and purpose of the project, the municipality or the Board of Tax and Land Appeals may refund or abate all or a portion of the payment in lieu of taxes in any year.
and that's what we used to do with
You have to
Vision.
refund
So-
after the fact.
Right, so then we charge a tax and then they make an application and then we abate that tax or refund that tax.
You should.
Which is, I think we did have a pilot at one point with Visions, and we
Yes.
decided that it was unnecessary paperwork because it came out to the same, other than making people do more paperwork, it had the same
Right.
final. Like, I don't know what the point of doing DRA song and dances if we don't know what the penalty is. Sorry.
I am still unclear on the difference to the town, whether something is a pilot, other than the one instance you just mentioned with regard to the bike shop. I understand that, that's commercial enterprise. But with regard to the others that don't have commercial enterprises, I don't understand what the pilot will do to either benefit the town or the organization,
Yeah,
as opposed to simply an exemption as we've already done in the past.
it'll move us in line with the law. Right now, we're not following the law.
When EVA was started, the town funded EVA directly. I forget what the sum was, but it was, a fair amount. And then EVA finally, when they had the apartment to rent, they said, okay, we'll give up our town funding, just don't charge us taxes on this apartment. So it was sort of a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Maybe even, this is just me making things more complicated, but during the budget process, EVA could be asking us for money again. And we could be granting it too. I mean, again, it's another, let's look at the paperwork and the outcome.
So part of it is, yes, what is the outcome we want? But part of it is also following the RSAs and being a town that follows the law. So to me, when it says that they shall enter a pilot, I think we need to have one. And that pilot, there's nothing that says the pilot has to be for any particular amount. So we could take.
Oh, that's true.
We
So-
could take the approach of $1
Yeah.
pilots,
I had thought of that.
which would meet the letter of the law. And it would be the intent of what the town has supported in the past. And that is an approach that we could consider.
And honestly, if somebody in our town decides they're gonna sue based on this, they can fight off the wolves who are coming after them. Cause I'm not interested in getting eaten alive over.
I do think, but I think for me, I feel that it's important to follow the RSAs and to be a town that follows the law. And we want, and I agree with you, John, these are all institutions we want to get their exemptions. So the question is, and yes, it's bureaucratic, but I think this is one where we need a little bureaucracy to stay compliant.
All right, the crabby lady who's had a bad day and it's not your fault is gonna make a motion. I make a motion that we grant full exemptions for, do you want me to read, do I need to read the names into the record or do I just?
Well,
I would read them.
Okay, Enfield Community Church, oh, wait, I can't make this one. Okay, I'm gonna skip number one because I'm a member of the Enfield Community Church. Somebody else is
Want me
gonna,
to read?
yeah, you read them. Okay, you make the motion. You do it.
I move that we grant the full exemption to the following. Enfield Community Church, Enfield Historical Society, Enfield United Methodist Church, St. Helena's Catholic Church, Union Church of Enfield Center, Dartmouth College partial exemption based on a 75% exempt and 25% taxable split. Living Waters Bible Church recommending exempting 2 acres in the church parsonage for taxing excess land. The Upper Valley Humane Society recommending exempting everything except the 18.1 acres of excess acreage. We suggest pilots to the tune of $1 each for Chosen Vale, Enfield Village Association, Upper Valley Snow Foundation, and Visions for Creative Housing. We further deny abatement to the New England Forestry Foundation.
I'll second that.
is there discussion of the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I hate bureaucracy.
Yeah,
Makes me so crabby.
that is, me too, and that's what I do.
Let somebody go after the solid.
This is why I would never do your job.
don't do this, they won't pave Shaky Hill up.
They're not gonna do a good job anyways.
Okay.
It's not nice.
Right. Moving down, acceptance,
I'm a little teary-eyed here.
Sorry.
acceptance of donation to Mascoma Lakeside Park Fund. In
I
the
make-
amount of $2,000.
Wait, I have 1,000.
Where
Right.
I have 1,000.
Oh, I'm reading
It should be
the
2,000.
agenda.
This says 1,000.
It should say 2,000.
Okay. I'll make a motion. We accept the donation from the Mascoma Sailing Club in the amount of $2,000 to the Mascoma Lakeside Park Trust Fund with thanks.
Did you say 2,000? It should be 2,000.
Yeah,
It's 2. Oh, on the agenda it says 2,000.
2,000.
The agenda
Ah.
says 2,000 and the agenda is correct.
This is a little bit off subject, but it's Mascoma Lakeside Park, but I forgot to mention in my announcement, I don't know how much you guys have followed, but it appears that we've finally gotten somewhere with Liberty Utilities. I'm working with Defiance Electric and as part of this project, we're gonna pull that power underground. So I know that's been a
Wow.
big discussion for a while.
Yeah.
I will give them kudos. The contractor on site doing the parking lot said he would do the labor for free because he knows we're over budget. Defiance is donating the conduit and labor to help put it in. And we're waiting on Liberty, but, the engineer on that project is pushing to see if Liberty will donate their service.
That would be great.
Ellen will get
Do
a.
we keep the one street light that's there?
What?
Does the one street light that is in the parking lot remain?
Oh my God, don't say street light.
Do we have a second?
The light in there, yes.
Do we have a second for the motion?
So, I made the motion. I can't second it.
Second it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we have that. Yeah, so that's gonna be nice to have power. All in favor of accepting the donation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so there are a number of administrative items, and then we go on to other business. First is public comments. Any? Yes, please.
Hi, Gary Hutchins, Locking Road. Yeah, I'd just like to clarify some comments that I made on the April 1st meeting, and I apologize for not coming on the 15th, I just figured I'd be. I made comments, and certainly Tracy took umbrage to it, and my intention was not to belittle the thousands of man hours that Tracy and Eric and several other volunteers in the community made for the MPAC committee. I mean, it's literally thousands of hours. And when I said the system didn't work, that certainly didn't mean that those thousands of man hours didn't work. And by saying the system didn't work, when your only goalpost is the bottom line, and it just ruins the project, I thought. Some examples. Pretty much every public safety building built in the state of New Hampshire in the past 15 years has had radiant heat and floor. We nixed that because the insulation under the slab was too expensive. Okay, and despite the fact that almost all public safety buildings built in the state of New Hampshire in the past 15 years have utilized ICF construction, we moved on. And the last example is, given the glorious history of this building, where we just spent $100,000+ re-insulating the building, and to reduce the amount of exterior insulation of the new building to save money, to make that bottom line, was ludicrous. And I was very happy, Kate, that was brought up and that you're gonna put the insulation back in the building. But again, I was very happy to see in the February 27th minutes of the Energy Committee that, what regulatory issues can be addressed, and consider the 20 and 50-year impact of decisions being made by boards and committees, not just the initial purchase price. I mean, you can buy the oats before it goes through the horse, or you can pay a hell of a lot less after it comes through the back end. And again, it's bottom line. Cannot use that as all criteria. I mean, by reducing the exterior insulation, what's the 50-year cost of that for the HVAC system? It's too hard to calculate, so we won't do that. But anyway, I just, and I guess the last thing is, I realize the minutes of the meeting are they're not word for word, and they're sort of a summary of what goes on in here. But to say that David Beauvais agreed with Mr. Hutchins in the April 1st meeting minutes, and leaving out the exchange that Tracy had that triggered David Beauvais's comments is sort of a disservice.
Thanks, Terry.
And the radiant heat decision is literally about ready to be cast in concrete, so we can never, ever go back on that.
Yes, thank you for continuing to attend meetings that I understand and frustrate you greatly. So I appreciate that. So thank you, and thank you for.
Well, I know I left a bad taste in Tracy's mouth when I made the comments, and I didn't, that wasn't my intention.
And we understand that, and we take that, and thank you for coming to make that statement. We appreciate it.
I think it's really hard too, when you know what you would do if it was your decision and you, but we were locked into representing everybody, not ourselves. And so I think it's very important that you continue to push energy to the forefront and energy savings, because people need to hear both sides.
It's like I've said in the past, it's like, if you don't have any standards, it's pretty easy to, to get around things. Robin Williams says that as an alcoholic, you'll violate your standards faster than you can lower them. We certainly don't have a whole lot of standards other than that bottom line.
I think the Vermont standards are a lot better than.
They are, and just remember, Vermont code, New Hampshire code, those are minimum standards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One, you mentioned, talk about green up day, and something that's like the roadsides, you walk the roads, pick up trash and stuff. I don't know if they have specific roads in mind, or if it's open.
I think it's open, and you can get your own blue bags from one of the locations that was
I'm
mentioned.
not gonna be in town.
Okay.
I'm gonna be leaving on my trip, but if possible, I would recommend, because it's a road that I ride my bike on a fair amount, between the section of Crystal Lake Road and Shaker Hill Road, and then going uphill towards the lake. That section there, it's hasn't been done in a long time.
Okay.
It's things that, just looking over, a lot of things have accumulated, and it would be a good area to do.
Maybe from the top of Crystal Lake, that hill?
Yeah. So when the houses start, it's not, you have yards. It's that when you drop down and you come to the intersection, the the south side, I think, of the roads, the downslope side.
We did it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I haven't been back, to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe great.
And,
Awesome.
things get out there again pretty fast, but someone did it thoroughly.
Yeah,
A
okay.
couple
Okay,
weeks ago.
okay. My other question is, on the Johnson Drive property, there's the kayaks that are stored on the sort of middle section of the property with the A-frames on one side and then the other side. I mean, are they going to be removed? I mean, they're not owned by the town.
If they're in the right of way,
Hey, as of right now, I plan to not, those are the people down there that own the abutting property owners, it's their kayaks, it's in their right of way, which they don't really have the right to store those things, but I don't think it's right either for the town to come in after years and just ask them to get their stuff. I plan on allowing them to leave them. The select board's okay.
Yeah.
That makes us a good neighbor.
Yeah.
I go good news.
oh my God, sorry, I started flipping.
But we're not responsible for that.
So I can take one out because it's on town property.
Yes.
Do what you have to do. We can't make any recommendations.
Any other public comments?
I just had one, Eric, and that was just in regards to trash. So I missed the portion of conservation in which everyone told about their interest in piece of trash, but I wanted to share what I found. I went down with the Girl Scouts on Earth Day and they cleaned up Hughes Park. And we had the children not pick up anything that was human waste, like, I'm not saying there were needles there, but that was one of the examples we gave them not to touch. But there were a number of diapers that were thrown into the bushes, particularly into the Japanese, an extensive number of diapers, which the adults picked up. And I know we had the issue with a porta potty with people throwing them in, and I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. I don't know if the fair also produces some of this. I know the fair has an awful lot of trash bins there, but you know, I understand as a parent, it's very hard to juggle. I typically changed my child in the back of my vehicle when I had to, but I think, gosh, I really don't want to have diapers all over Enfield. I know we've had it on the beach and I don't know if it's one person or a handful, but I was very disappointed. It's just fine.
Do we need a designated diaper pail there, do you think?
They have a trash can.
Yeah,
I know, but apparently there's people that won't put it in the trash can and prefer to drop it in the.
I mean, the trash can is not far away. You know, there was a period when there wasn't one. Sorry, I just am disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we can do beyond have a trash can there.
No, I think if you see
Yeah.
something, say something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in general.
We tabled this one.
Mr. Barrow, I see your hand is up.
Oh, well,
Do you have, public comment?
thank you.
No.
We
No?
can fix that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wrote table on the front end.
If there is no other comment or business,
Just the online one.
I have a question on an administrative item, but only if you're ready for it.
yeah, Mr. Barrow, if you have anything, go ahead and unmute and speak now, please. He's remuted, so I don't think he has a comment at the moment. with his hand up.
Hello.
Oh, we can hear you now. Yes, go ahead, please.
I guess I'm not clear on what I should do as in pertaining to the, lot 6 on Johnston Drive.
I will be in
My
charge.
understanding was that there was a 30-day period where I needed to make a decision. I'm feeling as though I've made that decision. So I don't know if the clock is still ticking on that. I don't want to be kind of bumped out because of a technicality here.
You're not, you'll be good. I'll be in contact with you this week, Rick.
I think this is on a
Yeah.
page.
This is that.
You have met your obligations and Ed, the town manager, will be in contact with you.
All right, very good, because I can bring a check down tomorrow if need be.
Thank you. That won't be necessary at
Won't
this
be
stage, but, at this point, it's in our court.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, you had a question on an administrative item?
I had a question, which is probably simple for Ed to answer. I see we have a nice copy of the refund amount from the Methodist Hill Realty Trust for the property at Methodist Hill. Is the board allowed to designate where that money can go in terms of putting it into a capital reserve account?
No.
No.
Goes in the general fund.
So it has to go in the general fund. And-
But at the end of the year, if it were, we could make a warrant article for an equivalent amount of use.
And can the board, during the course of a year, without getting to the annual meeting, move any funds into a capital reserve fund? Cannot. So,
Except for the water and sewer, which is budgeted.
except for water and sewer. So we cannot move any money into a capital reserve fund except for an annual warrant to move it in, even though it's a fund that we can move it out of without a town. Okay. All right.
I know, it seems like if you wanted to save, you'd be able to, but you can't.
I was looking them to invest it. That's exactly right.
Well, the trustees invest the money.
They're limited on what they can invest with town budget funds.
They could do some of these fabulous CDs I got.
No, they can't.
Oh, yes, they can do CDs.
Not with town funds without it being in a capital reserve fund.
Oh, right, but they have enough other funds to do.
That was why I asked if we could put it in a capital reserve fund, so that they could invest.
No,
Yeah.
it won't matter anyways.
If there's no other business, entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think my signature.
Thank you very much.
I'm
everyone.
signing the one for Whaleback Ed, but they didn't sign it.
I just slow on the adjournment tonight, John.
I usually